Hello everyone, today I'm here to review for you Robo Rally. Now, you may have heard of this game because, well, it's been around for a while, but this new version has come out. I'd not played the game before, so I was very happy to get my hands on the game, and Renegade did send it to me to actually give a go. Let's go over roughly how the game plays, give you an understanding of how it works, and then I'll give you my pros and cons to see if this is going to be a game for you. So in Robo Rally you are going to be controlling one of 6 robots. These nice pre-painted miniatures are going to be going to the board and you're going to be programming their actions, being shot, being lasered, being moved by conveyor belts and spun around on gears. Each round is going to consist of 5 programmed actions and there's a number of steps that you're going to be doing each turn. At the start of every round, you're going to have the chance to buy an upgrade from your hand. You can get additional cards by spending some energy to just take one off the top of the deck, but from your hand, you can choose to spend the energy to put in a permanent or a temporary upgrade. They're going to do things like when you ram into someone else, it does damage, as well as just pushing them. Maybe it changes your laser into a certain other type of weapon, or perhaps it's just a temporary one that lets you move slightly differently on one of your turns. Then it's the core of the game. You're actually going to program your 5 actions. Now, at the start of the game, you've got a deck of 20 cards and you're going to shuffle that up and draw 9 of them. With those 9 cards, you're going to program your 5 actions into different sort of activation slots. Once everyone has done that, then the person with the priority token, which goes round the board at the end of each round, well, they're going to start by activating their number 1 card and doing whatever it says. Then the next player does their number 1 and you go all around the table until everyone's done that. Now these cards can be maybe move forward 1, 2, 3 spaces in a straight line. Maybe it's turn left, turn right, maybe turn around, maybe gain energy, or like repeat the previous action that you did. Once everyone has done their actions, the board is going to activate in a very specific order, but it's like the conveyor belts are going to move you along. There's some which are blue, they move you 2 spaces. The green ones, only 1 space, they're a little slower. There's gears that are going to spin you clockwise or anti-clockwise. There's laser beams that are going to shoot and damage you, and we'll come on to damage in a minute. There's holes that you can be pushed down by pushers. And if you fall down, well, you'll respawn in the next round, but you will take damage. You can even go off the edge of the board and take damage that way and having to respawn again at the start of the next round. Once all the board has activated, you're going to, if you can see someone in your line of sight, which is effectively as far as you can see, unless there's a wall between you, you can shoot one person. By default, you get upgrades that maybe change that, but you're going to shoot one person that's straight in front of you. They're going to take a damage, so let's talk about that now. There's 2 types of damage. Spam cards are kind of there just to clog your hand up a little bit, and when you play them into your 5 action slots, well, it's a random top card from your deck, so it can really screw with your programming. The other ones are haywire cards, which effectively go into your activation slots for the next round. They are sometimes really helpful and sometimes not. It might be move forward 2, turn right, then move forward 1, turn left. And you have to do that in the slot that it's been put into. So it can just muck with the programming that you're going to have to do the next round to try and work around it. They're the 2 types of damage, and well, you can have quite a lot of damage. You can have multiple haywire cards, multiple spam cards in your deck, that sort of stuff. You just keep going sort of thing. But what are you doing all this for? Well, you're trying to get to different flags. There's 6 included in the box, but let's say it's just a 1 flag race. You are trying to get from your starting location across the board through all of its conveyor belts, lasers, etc., and trying to get to the end flag. You can walk over the flag, but you actually have to end your turn on them when it activates that board activation for you to score sort of that checkpoint. If there's a second flag, you're going to move something on your player board to indicate you've got to the first one and you're now going towards number 2. But you could also just be having a race to a number 1 flag, and then whoever's got there first wins. So let's start off with what I would say is a really good selling point of Robo Rally, and that is that it is actually quite simple. The rulebook doesn't make it look like it's going to be simple because it's quite a thick, chunky rulebook, but it's actually full of loads of examples, maps that you can sort of make, and just like these are predefined maps, you can certainly make your own as well. And actually, when you're starting to play the game, the majority of it is very simple. There are some bits which you might just need to double check. There's some upgrades that you can get and it's like, how exactly does this one work? But the majority of the time, actually, you're programming 5 actions and then going around the table, activating one of them at a time, maybe getting damaged, maybe turning the wrong way because you thought, if I turn right here, but you should have been turning left, and that sort of thing. So it's a very simple, sort of logical game to play. It just sounds like there's quite a lot going on. The board elements are what creates some of the chaos. Yes, you're programming your stuff and you can bump into others. You can even shoot others, but it's the board that really does drive some of the chaos. You've sort of pre-planned it exactly how you thought it was going to be. I'll be moving down this conveyor belt twice. And then you realise, I've actually moved twice, not once. So you've gone over the conveyor belt and that's completely mucked up the rest of the programming you've done. Now, most of the board elements are super clear. You see a blue conveyor belt, it's got a double arrow. You kind of know that you're going to be moving twice when you're on it. The only thing, I wish that the gears, the spinny things, well, they've got on them whether you're going to be going sort of clockwise, counterclockwise, but when you actually got your Mini sat on top of one, you actually have to lift it off to see which way it's rotating. If those gears, that sort of clockwise, anti-clockwise arrows had just been larger on towards the outside of the gear, I think it might have been a little bit clearer, but overall, you pretty much know exactly what the board looks like, and then it's your screw up when your programming's gone wrong and you started facing a very different direction than you thought you were going to be. But maybe I'm about to shoot you, so it's not the end of the world. That chaos that you've got there, it really does sort of build as you add players, and I think as you add players, there's more chaos because more damage, more chance of being shot, more chance of bumping into each other, as long as you've only got a few flags. I would sort of say this is a game that gives you the ability, the option to play with up to 6 flags that you've got to get to. I have to admit, we've found that you probably only want 2, maybe 3, and even then you don't want to be doing it across too many boards, because when everyone is near each other, they're probably more likely to be facing each other, they're more likely to be bumping into each other. That's when the chaos is really there, and it's super fun. When you've got it across multiple boards with lots of flags, I'm on the first objective, but you're already going over there for the third one, well, you start to interact a lot less, and that's when the chaos levels drop, and it's the chaos that's making the game really fun. So play on just one of the 4 double-sided boards with a couple of flags. It'll keep the playtime down to what I would consider sort of a better amount, and you'll have that much more chaotic game in the sort of process. I alluded to it briefly there, the 4 boards, the game boards, are double-sided, so I really like that there's that variety straight from the offing. A few of the other things that I think really do instill variety is the fact there's maps included in sort of the rulebook, but you can 100% create your own with the flag tokens, respawn tokens and stuff like that. I think that's a really nice sort of way that the game can be very different and you can sort of really change that. I also think that the upgrades that come out of the deck, they're going to make things different. This time, I'm spiky, and that means if you hit into me, you're going to take a damage while you push me. That means I don't really want to be bumping it into that person, and sometimes you want to nudge them because then it's screwing up their programming, but well, I'm not sure I want to take a damage. All of a sudden, maybe they're not the best target. Maybe I just want to try and shoot them. There's even sort of variety on the board itself, and not just like the configuration, but I really like the variety of the board elements. Not just the gears that turn you clockwise or anti-clockwise, the two different conveyor belts. I like the fact that there's two of them and they sort of all trigger in a certain order, so you can chain things together. You can be pushed off a conveyor belt onto one of those gears that are spinning you round. I like the fact that you sometimes, and it creates some great entertaining moments that you're going to remember from this game, is that you get on a conveyor belt and it's just moving you slowly towards a laser. And do you stop? Do you stop just before the laser? Do you stop in the laser fire so then when the board activates you do get shot? Do you manage to go past the laser before the board activates and you're shot? Do you then go in front of a pusher that's only activating on the odd rounds or the even rounds, and that's going to push you down a hole? They sort of board elements, because they've got different configurations, some boards have a lot more of them or a lot less of them. You can really tailor the experience by just flipping those 4 boards over. I really like the sort of energy system where you gain energy, you can deploy these either permanent or temporary upgrades. I like the fact that you can shoot sort of after every card. You see if you're facing someone else's robot and you're going to shoot their robot. And that damage system that can screw you up or not, I think that's really cool. Like, oh, I've got to use the top card from my deck. Well, that's random. I don't know what it's going to be. Hopefully it's not going to sort of turn me around and make me be running off, charging off the wrong direction, away from the flag I'm trying to get to. I like the fact that that all works. I just wish there was a little bit more of it. I've seen online, and we have actually tried it, that there's sort of house rules where instead of 1 energy you get when you stand on one of the battery spaces on the map, you get 2. And all of a sudden, you're then able to get much more of the upgrades, and that's part of the fun. And I think the game sort of has this sort of system that it's almost making you go, right, you want to play a really long game. So over the course of getting to the 6th flag, you can upgrade. But I think that's too long, and I think it needs to just give you more energy so you can get more of those cool upgrades, and maybe like make it somewhat less random of shooting opponents. I get that lasers go in a straight line, but maybe there's 2 sort of things and you can activate one or the other of them. Maybe one is in a cone in front of you, or someone else's is like just if they're one space adjacent to you. It's that sort of thing. I think just being able to do more of it, because I really like that sort of upgrade system where you feel you're a bit more unique. I like the you can shoot someone and that's going to cause damage. Those elements of the game are really cool, and I just kind of wish they triggered more. I've got to give a shout out to Renegade Games for actually including pre-painted minis. I think they look quite nice. The only concern is that there is one that it's quite hard to determine which way it's facing. It's like a sort of rounded UFO, and even with the sort of arrow-like base, which on most of them, well, that makes it kind of super clear which way it's facing. Even with that rounded one, it's really hard to determine which direction it's facing by just glancing at the board. I think that makes it harder for that player, but also when someone else is trying to like make sure you're spinning in the right direction or whatever, it can take a few extra seconds. It just seems an odd one, but I like that the robots all look very visually different, and being painted is certainly a nicety. So overall, I've enjoyed Robo Rally. It's one that I've wanted to play for a long time, and it's not really let me down. I just wish there was more of what it does great. I really like the programming. That sort of feels really awesome when you've programmed it perfectly, or when you've not and you've screwed up, you've gone into that laser. It's really fun. I like the upgrade system where you get that energy and then you're able to spend it and get a cool thing that maybe others can't do. Fire the weapon differently, react differently, be able to move slightly differently. I like that. That's a really cool system. But like with shooting other people, which feels a bit random at times, am I pointing in the right way? I just wish there was a bit more of that. Because that gets you damage, and the damage is fun. It adds to the chaos with the brilliant board elements that builds that chaos, and I just want more of that in sort of a shorter, sharper experience. Go with the 2 flags maximum, don't go for the full 6 to keep that playtime down. Condense everyone down into 1 or 2 of the included boards, and you'll just be bumping into each other and have that chaos. I wish there was just more of that, and therefore it's a good game, a solid experience that I do think people are going to enjoy. It's just maybe not one that I would go back to over and over again, despite enjoying that chaos, it being actually relatively easy to play, and the sort of variety that's straight in the box. Hopefully this has helped you know whether the game is going to be for you or not. Let us know what your thoughts are of Robo Rally in the comments section below, and until next time, have a Robo-filled good day.